few extra bills in the packet. So if you see something that you don't see on your agenda, that's why. Senate Bill 2143 is a bill that removes some GPS coordinates from the local resort status bill that the city that it's located in requested them not to be here. So Senator Michelle filed a bill on his behalf, and that is an explanation of the bill. It just removes a premises that has resort status. The city has requested to not be in there. Be happy to entertain any questions. Senator Sparks for a question.
What city?
That'd be the city of Ridgeland.
Would I be familiar with these coordinates?
I have not been to those coordinates, so I don't know if you've frequented or not.
Is there a cat at these coordinates?
Is there a what?
Cat. And
The cat? I have not been there, so I would not know if there's a cat there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? For a motion? Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is Senate Bill 2145. Represents Senator England to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was having trouble getting my green light on here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2145 is a bill that would allow for the direct shipment of wine in Mississippi to consumers. This is something that 47 other states have. And oddly enough, it's something that we allow our native Mississippi wineries and mead producers, we allow them to ship directly to consumers outside of Mississippi. But we just don't allow that yet here in Mississippi until we get this bill passed. And I'm sure we will today. Again, this is going to allow direct shipment of wine to only to consumers, not to retailers or retailers. We require the bill requires a permit as a direct wine shipper, so you do have to purchase the permit. And the box that the wine comes in has to be marked, includes alcohol or contains alcohol, and you can only ship it to people that are 21 years of age or older, and it has to the package has to be signed for by someone who shows an ID as being someone 21 years of age or older. The direct shippers, the holders of these direct shipment permits, they have to report to the Department of Revenue annually to report how much wine was shipped and the amount they collected. They also will have to deposit the taxes collected by the 20th of each month with the Department of Revenue after the shipment of the product. The we're requiring shippers to maintain 3 years of records on this, and we limit cases to 24 9-liter cases annually per individual. Also, I know this was a concern previously. We've addressed this in this bill. You cannot ship to a dry county, a county that does not allow this currently, but you can ship through the county, which is what we already allow to happen anyways when traveling from county to county, but you cannot ship into those counties. I believe there's and it says in the bill, I believe there's a 15.5% tax on this, and I found it a very good part of Senator Michelle's bill here that 3% of the tax will go directly to the mental health program fund, which is, I know, something that we're always seeking to help fund here in Mississippi. So this bill would do that. That's an explanation of the bill, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions, Senator? Everybody, you recognize for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that per individual or per household?
It's per individual.
So if it's multiple people in the household, they could each get 24 9-liter?
I will find that directly in the bill for you and let you know. I do believe, per my notes that I've written down, I said per individual, not per household.
Would you be opposed to an amendment that says per household?
I wouldn't oppose the amendment. I'm not certain that it's needed because, again, I'm not happy with state actions telling folks what they can and can't do a lot of times, and that's putting a limit on it for apparently a reason that I'm not sure of. But Senator Blackman, if that would make you happy with this bill, I would definitely not oppose the amendment.
Okay, thank you, because last year I was against this bill. I've spoken with several package stores and they have no opposition to it. And I'm trying to eliminate any of the opposition that I may have, and that would certainly do it. So at the appropriate time, I do have an amendment.
Any other questions?
Well, I would have a question on the amendment, I believe, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Well, he hadn't proposed the amendment yet, but. if you-
Okay.
Any other questions? Senator McMahon for a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. How much is the permit going to be for the individual to hold this permit to order direct?
$100 annual permit fee.
And how did you arrive at the 24 case minimum, which is 144 bottles per person, according to the way you have the bill written?
I would have to ask Senator Michelle that, but I'm sure he'll be able to explain that to us on the floor. And it's obviously a number that was arisen, that came up after much thought being so specific. I'm sure there's a direct answer to your question that Senator Michelle would certainly be glad to answer, and I will find an answer for you as soon as we get this to the floor of the Senate after passing today.
And the purpose of this bill is to, what's the purpose of the bill? Are there Mississippians not been able to secure beverages of their choice?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's pretty clear, and we all know. I spoke with someone that doesn't serve with us today, but works in this building, that said that she attended a 21st birthday with her daughter out in the Napa Valley, and they have a program where you can sign up to receive wines, and they said, well, yeah, we'll ship directly to you. And she said, well, no, you can't. I live in Mississippi, and we're one of only 3 states that people who visit that area have to say, no, you can't ship to me. So Mississippians have to do that, and it's just not fair, if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a follow-up to Senator McMahon's question, Mr. Chairman. And Senator England, if this were to pass, can a Mississippi resident purchase a wine that is available in a package store via mail, or is it only, and I think this may have been an issue last year, but is it for wine that is unavailable in the state of Mississippi?
Well, you certainly can. This will open up wines that aren't currently available in Mississippi to consumers here in Mississippi. As far as whether they are available, I don't think this bill restricts it, nor do I necessarily think that it should restrict it, but I'd be happy to listen to any reasons that you have for that. But the purpose of this, with the shipping costs and the issues that come with that, you're not going to have your typical wines that you're going to find in your local package stores. Those are not going to be the ones that people are going to be shipping directly to their homes. These are going to be wines, like I mentioned earlier. I think I've heard them called boutique wines. Or down home, I hear folks in Mobile love to have direct shipment of clean wines, which take out some of the sulfates and take out a few of the other things in the wine, and they don't even offer it in stores. So that's the intent of the bill, if that answers your question, Senator.
Yeah, it does. I was just, when you gave Senator McMahon the purpose of wines that were unavailable, that's why I asked to make sure if it included all wines or just wines that were unavailable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Suber for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator England, you had stated that this will just only go to counties that have come out from under the dry law.
That's right.
So what about some of these towns that are in the county that have voted to come out from under dry law? Like Oxford one, I don't think Lafayette is Wet County. I think it's dry.
But the city is, I believe, look, this is not going to, if a community, whether it be a municipality or a county, if it's under a dry law, you're not going to be able to ship to those communities. I guess community is the best way to put it, because I understand you're asking city versus municipality, and you can still travel through a county. We have that in a law. For instance, if Oxford allows it and Lafayette does not, you can still get to Lafayette. You don't have to airdrop these cases, and you can
Like
still,
somebody in Oxford will be able to receive a package.
if they're not in a dry area, yes, they would be able to do
And
so.
I have many towns like that.
Yeah.
I have many counties that are not, the counties have never voted to come out from under the dry law, but
That's right.
numerous towns, it actually would be.
Mhm.
And,
That's a good question.
and I have had a lot of questions, and I think Senator Barrett kind of answered that for me, but so any wine that's currently in ABC warehouse, they would be able to ship to their house, but it'd be any wine anywhere, like the Napa Valley reference.
That's right.
All right, thank you.
That's right. And again, it's something that we allow our, for instance, if we have in Tupelo, if you have a winemaker or a mead maker, which I believe is a honey wine, if you have these different things and we allow them to produce in Mississippi, and if you have someone that comes over from Alabama and they want to have something directly shipped, we allow our producers to do that. We just don't allow producers from outside of Mississippi to send their things to everyday Mississippians. So this really brings us in line with what everyone else is doing with that, and with what we're allowing to happen with other states.
Is this going to affect our package stores any? A lot of these are just small mom and pop stores, the community going to start ordering all their wine like from Amazon, like they have with, we don't see stores in our towns anymore. I mean, everybody's going to Walmart or Amazon.
So the direct shipper permit address that you have to have a direct shipper permit. So we're keeping this for, I think for purposes that you're referencing. Also, the tax and other issues, shipping costs, you're not going to see folks doing that with, look, I'm not going to start naming wines that we see in our local grocery store, our local, not our grocery stores, our package stores. We don't allow that either. I was about to slip up. But look, I've been to other states that do this. Again, there are 47 others that allow it, and they all have package stores, and a lot of them look very nice. Some of them look nicer than what I see here, and they do just fine. So I don't think, I think there's a fear there, obviously, and I think there's a fear of that might try to drive boats in here, but it's a fear that is just not reasonable, in my opinion, looking at these other states.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Barry for a question.
Yeah, just to clarify, thank you, Mr. Chairman, too. We're shipping to a retail store or to a home address?
To a home address, to an individual at their home address with the package that is marked contains alcohol, and the package also says can only be delivered to a person 21 years of age or older. And these direct shippers, who are very well regulated in this bill and have to have a permit, must check an ID to whoever they drop this off at a residence. So this is not going to be dropped on a doorstep like we would see with an Amazon package. These packages have to be signed for, are these folks, and there are teeth in this bill for violating these provisions.
And so there are companies that do this exclusively. It's not depending on our post office or our local, routine
They
UPS
ship it.
guy.
They ship it direct. Yeah, there are, again, there's 47 other states doing this. We're not inventing something brand new here, but yes, there are individuals that will obtain these direct shipper permits to be able to make sure that Mississippians that are ordering wine can get it directly shipped to them.
Okay.
Any other questions? Senator Jordan for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me see if I have the right understanding here. If I travel to another state and wanted to order 2 cases of wine of my choosing, are you saying in a wet state I can't do this and this bill will allow me to do that?
That's correct, Senator Jordan. Currently, you are unable to go to another state, taste a wine that you like, and have it shipped to Mississippi. If we pass this bill, you would be able to do that.
Yes, it ought to be my right to do that if I wanted to do it.
I certainly agree
But
with you.
now, on the limitation of how many, that may be a choice. Say if you're limited about 2 cases, and I want it, and I saw it from another state, I ought to be able to, in a wet state like Mississippi, I ought to be able to bring it. Who would say that I couldn't bring it in the state?
Currently, the state of Mississippi does, but if we can change that today and on the floor, Senator Jordan.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Boyd for a question.
Thank you. So I have a question in regards to, I'm sorry, I missed your first part of this. Is this just for wineries or is this any retailer?
This is just for wines, and the definitions portion does mention what includes wines. So we're not doing direct shipment of spirits or malt beverages or other things. This is a direct shipment of wine bill.
Okay, and is it just from the wineries or is it from any retailer?
Senator Boyd, I'll look at that. I believe it is from, individual wineries that produce this, and that may be in the definitions portion of the bill. Again, I'm happy to look at that and get back with you as to where you would be shipping it from. But this is not, well, so you have to hold a manufacturer's permit. If you'll see on lines 56, 57. So these are manufacturers. These aren't other liquor stores in other states that we're doing. So these also aren't, this also is not Amazon, putting these wines on their website and having, this is you have to be a holder of a Class 2 or Class 3 manufacturer's permit and be licensed in the activity of manufacturing, supplying, importing, distributing, wholesaling, or retailing wine. That's lines 56 to 60.
Senator, I'm going to look at what you just said.
Mhm.
I've got some concerns about some language I'm kind of seeing here that maybe this is not just limited to wineries. Let me ask this question too. Can I
Okay.
ask where this number came up? Because like, if I'm a married couple, it's looking like I can get up to 48 cases per year. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct under the bill as it is now. And look, I'm very happy to entertain a motion on that from, I believe Senator Blackman has referenced that he will have one. Is that a number that, is there a particular number you would like to see? Is that something that, I mean, look, we're not, the point of the bill is not for people to just make it their personal business to get sloshed on wine in 48 cases in a year. It's to allow people to have these shipments. And I'm not sure, listen, Senator Boyd, I don't do this. I don't, obviously I can't do this now, but there may be some requirements at some of these wineries that you have to purchase a certain amount to even have them go through the process and the shipping requirements to get it to you. So that may be one of the reasons why this number was looked at so strongly. I certainly wouldn't want us to limit someone to just 12 bottles of wine a year from wherever they get them. I mean, there's obviously some thought that's going into this number. Senator Michelle and I will discuss this here. I will get back to you as soon as before we bring this up for a vote on the floor, I guarantee you.
Okay, Senator England, if you would look at lines 58 through 60 and those retailers, do you read that to say that this is only wineries?
I do. I think that it says that they are engaged in the activity of manufacturing, supplying, importing, distributing, wholesaling, or retailing wine. And it's just strictly dealing with wines. Now, I don't think that, and look, the bill doesn't define what a winery is, but it does limit this to wine. And listen, and Senator Boyd, if this helps, again, I'm going to use an example of here in Mississippi. where we allow people to produce, where people are manufacturing wines. And I hope everybody in these other 47 states that do this come here and taste our meads and our wines and enjoy them and order them. But we've passed bills in here to allow those individual companies in Mississippi to open wholesaling warehouses so that they can be easier for them to ship to these very fortunate citizens in other states that allow this. And so I think that's probably why you see the listing of distributing and wholesaling and importing. We try to help our manufacturers as much as we can get their product to their customer. But what we're doing to these other states that are doing this, we're telling our Mississippians, you can go taste it over there, but leave it over there. We're not going to let you get it here.
And I understand where you're coming from, Senator England, but I think this, I think that you're probably looking at something way beyond, in the language that's presently here right now, you're looking something that's way beyond traditional wineries with this. Our people here that produce, I have a producer in my area, but it is something that would more local to being more on cue of a winery. So I've got some really heartburn in this, and I hope that if this goes through, we can make some changes to that language. I think at this time, is Senator Blackwell going to offer an amendment on the amount of wine?
It was Senator Blackman, I believe.
Senator Blackman, I'm sorry.
And I'm not sure if he has one or not. He just alluded to it, and that would be, obviously, chairman would be the one to call him.
Amendment at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of want to walk through this. If you're at a winery, assuming a winery is the target of this, and you're out in Napa Valley and you like that wine, and so you reach out and say, I'd like to buy a case of that wine. If they don't have a permit already, they can't ship it, correct?
That's correct.
So are we going to basically be in the position of having to convince a winery to contact our good friends at DOR to apply for a permit? I mean, it doesn't seem seamless if I'm there and maybe there's high demand and these people are going to want to spend $100 to get a permit, but you can't just order from where you want to your home. You would literally have to have that vendor manufacturer would have to have a permit first, correct?
The direct shipper would have to have that permit.
Okay,
So
is
the
there a
person that's
different?
shipping?
Okay, go, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No. The person that is shipping that wine, I'm not familiar with how their businesses operate with that. But how they decide, or how they make sure they're in line with what other states do. They obviously do know which states allow this and which states don't.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about.
I know. So the California wine, and let me just ask you, if you have a California winery that is making a boutique style wine that you can only get there and they want to ship it here, does that company have to come to Mississippi to get a permit? Is that what you're asking?
Is that not who the direct shipper is?
So direct shipper, let me look at the definition and I will get back to you. I know you probably have another question, so I can do two things at once.
No, that's okay.
Which usually I cannot, but I don't want to hold us up here today, and I do want to get an answer for you.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand who's applying for the permit. And as I understand the question to Senator Boyd, the only people who could apply for such a permit are wineries.
That's correct.
And we're just assuming, or manufacturers, whatever the definition is. And assuming winery A, no matter where they are, and also no matter whether it's in the ABC warehouse or not, that piece has been removed.
From previous legislation.
That's
Right.
correct.
That's right.
So if I say, will you ship to me? And we've covered the Dry County issue and understand that, but they can't ship to you legally unless they purchase a permit from the state of Mississippi, correct?
I'm going to have to look at the bill to get you the correct answer. And Senator Sparks, I think there's great questions by you, by Senator Boyd. I think Senator Blackman wants to look at the amounts. And I know that this bill currently does not have a reverse repealer in it. I think that this may be a good one to have because, as you mentioned in last year's bill, we did have a few things that we talked about. And I know there's going to be concerns with, carrier compliance and different things like that, which I think the bill addresses, but I'm just through talking with other folks outside the committee. So if we get a reverse repealer in this and pass it through the committee, we can address all of these questions, which are good questions. I don't want to take away from them for that, but
And I don't mind making that motion with reverse repealer or someone else, but I want to go back to the original question.
yes.
Somebody has to have a permit
Mhm.
to be able to sell. And the question is, who's that somebody? And it's been represented that they're a winery,
Mhm.
but it would be a winery that had obtained the permit. Otherwise, I can't order from them.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
and-
correct. And I don't, so it's obviously a process that they go through. And I'm looking at section 2, which I think does address the issue. Again, it's a question I just haven't gotten yet, Senator Sparks. So as I'm looking through here, section 2 says a person must hold a permit as a direct wine shipper issued by the department, which is the Department of Revenue, before that person may engage in the selling and shipping of wine directly to the resident of the state. So I think that may be the answer to your question, that yes, before you can sell and ship wine directly, you have to have a direct wine shipper permit issued by the department. Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly
okay,
it. But who's a person? That's the thing. Is this a broker or is this a wine manufacturer? Because there's a huge difference between the two, because in section 3, to qualify for a permit, an applicant shall be, and you talked about a class 2, class 3 manufacturer.
Right.
But then the big word OR is there. So I don't have to be a class 2, class 3 manufacturer.
Mhm.
I can just be a person
Mhm.
who's licensed or permitted outside of this state to engage in the activity manufacturing,
Mhm.
but supplying, importing, distributing, wholesaling, or retailing. That means anybody who's retailing wine. So that would be from Costco to Bob's Liquor Store would be able to qualify for a permit, because it does not require you to be a class 2 or 3 manufacturer. That's an option. But then it says or, so I'm fine with
that's
the reverse repealer, but it reads to me that this is not limited to wineries, and that it literally could open the door that Amazon or whomever else, and I got no problem with Amazon, or anybody else, but I'm just curious about that, because I don't understand who can get a permit.
Okay, well, let me put it this way. I think that, yeah, you're right. The word or on line 57 and mentions, anybody manufacturing, supplying, importing, distributing, wholesaling, or retailing wine. If that means that we're not dealing just with wineries, without this legislation, even wineries can't send to us. But I can tell you, and look, whether a consumer wants to or not, going through the process of getting a case of yellowtail Chardonnay sent to your house is just going to be much more difficult under this. That's not the intent of the bill. I understand. Now, as someone who really is perfectly fine with the direct shipment of wines to the house, I don't care if somebody's heart is set on getting a case of yellowtail Chardonnay sent to their house. But right now, those other wines that you cannot get inside of Mississippi, because they're just not, either wineries do not go through distribution like other areas do. Some only offer direct ship. That's their sales model. And you and I have had a lot of debates over sales models over the years for these different companies trying to get their products to consumers. Without this legislation, they can't do that. And they may operate through a different distributing area or an importer that we don't get in Mississippi. Again, the intent of the bill is not to be these wines that fly off the shelves in our package stores, and I don't think you're going to see that. The intent is to allow Mississippians to have access to wines that they can't generally obtain in Mississippi, but we're not limiting people to that.
And I'm not
in this
worried
bill.
about the wines that fly off the shelf. I'm
Right.
just saying the way that reads to me
Right.
is an Alabama licensed liquor store
Mhm.
or wine selling establishment. They hold a retail license in the state of Alabama, therefore they would qualify to apply for a Mississippi direct ship permit. That's just the way it reads to me, but I will cease asking questions at this point.
No, I think that's very fair, and I think that you may have helped answer Senator Boyd's question on that. And if that's the issue that you all have, let's put a reverse repealer in this bill and discuss it further, because we've had this bill in this committee several years now. I know that we're all going to keep having it here if we don't do this. We're not reinventing the wheel. Alabama did this in 2021, and oddly enough, you mentioned Alabama. They still have packaged retail stores in Alabama. But Alabamians can now order wine from Napa Valley, or if they had a wine they liked in North Carolina with the area that was affected very badly by the hurricane. Look, that's one of their main products in Nashville, is shipping wine to other areas. We don't let them do it here in Mississippi, so they don't even worry with us. But we can continue to talk with this with reverse repealer in a bill. We put reverse repealers in bills. We all know what that means. I'm happy to do that and continue to talk with folks on it. But let's just pass out a committee and keep the conversation going beyond this week and see what we want to do here. I'm happy to
right.
listen to any oncoming things.
All right,
And I have a motion at the proper time. Mr.
okay. Senator Filligan, you would ask a question, you wanted to put the reverse repealer in first?
I defer.
Okay. Senator England, your motion is to add a reverse repealer?
That's absolutely right. I
Okay.
will make that motion.
You've heard the
as-
amendment. Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Senator Filligan for a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Senator England, for your work on this. I know you've worked diligently on this for a couple of years, and I think it's improved a lot from where it started.
Thank you.
My question is what I think you referenced earlier in your explanation, which is that there's certain fees that have to be added to maybe for shipment and that sort of thing. Do you have any idea, based on maybe the experience in the other states, if one were to purchase something from one of these Napa Valley wineries, how much on top of the price of the actual product is someone looking at to be able to get it shipped to their home?
I'm not certain. Obviously, the shipping issue, and this may be something Senator McMahon knows directly about, being a man that deals with packaging. We could look at that, but these are, obviously shipping a bottle of wine is going to be more than shipping a letter.
Right.
Because you have to be more, fragile with it. So you have to do that. And now the tax that is on this directly in this bill is 15.5%, again, with 3% going into the mental health fund. But the shipping.
Is
I'm not
that
sure
price, the tax, comparable to what it would be at any other liquor store? Is it the same or is it different?
I'm not sure. I think it's different.
And
Yes,
would it
that's
be
different.
less or more?
It's more.
This is much less.
This amount is
correct?
less. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Vice Chair Johnson was signaling me and I was misinterpreting his signals. So yes, this is less.
So my question would be, why would we want to make it less? I mean, if people are paying a premium price to bring in a special wine, which of course I tend to agree with you, it ought to be their right to do probably, if we can figure out a way to do it. But why should we incentivize people to go out of state to purchase their product as opposed to, incentivizing the local owners of package stores or locally grown produced spirits rather, or at least make it even? I just don't see the reverse incentive there to go out of state to purchase versus the tax on something that's locally available.
Yes, thank you, Senator Filligan. And again, this is the answer to your question is in this bill in front of me. And while I'm looking at it, I want to just, you thanked me for my work on this bill, and I think thanking Senator Walter Michel is something I need to mention here because he certainly worked very hard on this as well. I believe that this percentage is on top of whatever sales tax. So this is in addition to the sales tax. But again, with a reverse repealer, we can look at that and tell, and I'll continue looking here before we finish debating this bill. I'm not sure if we're getting close. I'm sure everybody's ready to be close, but I will get the answer to that and would also be happy to work with you directly on that particular issue with the reverse repealer.
That would be great because, and this information may not be exactly accurate, but I'm told that the tax charged to Mississippi package stores is around 27.5%, whereas the price being charged here is only 15.5%. So it's a significant difference, and I don't know why we would want to incentivize people going out of state to buy products versus, encouraging them to buy them here if available.
It-
Um,
I think maybe the difference is, so Mississippi, tax is based on a wholesale issue, and this is retail. I mean, you're purchasing this from a retailer, so maybe that, but we can dig into it further.
Sure. And I would be interested to know an approximate pricing on the shipping, because if what we're doing is allowing only those very wealthy individuals to be able to afford to do this, because your typical person wouldn't be able to afford the packaging, the taxes and all of that to buy, a case of wine, that seems a little odd that we wouldn't want to make it available to regular Mississippians, not just those, maybe with the means to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
All of I understand maybe is 47 states have already carry on this kind of business. Can't we ask them, get their idea how they are able to do it? It shouldn't be that difficult to do that. I think you ought to be able to purchase whatever you want to, as long as it's in a wet state and it's legal to do so, if you feel like you want it. But others, 47 states have done it out of 50. And let's find out how they do it, and then we can draw from that. That would be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Jordan.
All right.
Alabama did this just as recently as 2021, so we're falling to the end here with other folks that are doing this.
All right. Seeing no further questions, Senator Blackman, do you still have an amendment with the reverse appealer? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My motion is to amend line 98 by replacing the word individual with address.
All right. Y'all heard the amendment. Are there any questions? All right, for a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Senator McMahon, do you still have an amendment, or you?
So I think the spirit of this bill, no pun intended, the spirit of the bill that Senator Michelle's put forward is to help people secure specialty types of wine that they're unable to secure through ABC or their local packaging stores. But people are having problems securing certain types of alcohol through their local packaging stores because they cannot get the product from ABC in a timely manner. If you go on a website and order from ABC, they have a curbside pickup blank where you can check it. So if you if you're a retail packaging store, you could click that and choose to come and pick up your own product, but ABC doesn't allow it currently. So my amendment is that ABC allow anyone with a retail permit in the state of Mississippi, that ABC allows a retail packaging permit to pick up 1 day a week. They can designate the day, but for 1 day. And I'll give you an example. A packaging store in Mississippi, they spend about $200,000 a year to have their products delivered. So they could pick it up themselves for much less. And so therefore they could lower the prices to their customers. So my amendment is a conceptual amendment to allow to force ABC to honor their curbside delivery, which is already in the system. They're just not honoring it, that they have to do it 1 day a week. I yield for any questions.
Any questions? Senator England for a
Well,
question?
Mr. Chairman, I think I would have a point of order. I'm not sure that code, the section dealing with ABC and how they handle their shipments is in here, so I'm not sure that amendment would even be germane to the bill.
I'd like to speak to that. It has to do with delivery.
Go ahead and speak to it, Senator.
So It has to do with disbursement and delivery of alcoholic products. Therefore, it is germane. If the exact code section is not open, I believe it is germane because it speaks directly to the way that alcohol is delivered.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just remind the committee that we did adopt a reverse repealer on the bill as well. Thank you.
The code section's not in there, Senator, but there'll be other bills that we can
Understood.
use to address it. But thank you for your amendment.
Okay.
All right. Are there any further questions or amendments? Seeing none, for a motion.
My motion is title sufficient, do pass, be a committee sub now.
Motion is title sufficiently passed, committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Ayes have it.
Division.
Division's been requested. If you are in favor, raise your hand.
This is in favor of the bill. Here, this is in favor of the bill. Just let me know. Okay? Derek, put it up higher than that. Come on, Derek.
9.
Hey, you get in
Your
trouble
hands up.
putting your arm out like that.
All right. That's 9. Good runs. All right, count them. 1, 2.
Oh, we're counting again here, Gary.
Four.
Just so you know.
If you're for it, raise your hand, please.
Mr. Chairman.
If you're opposed, raise your hand. 5, 7, 9, 10 to 9. By a vote of 10 to 9, it passes. All right.
Thank you. It's don't go.
Next bill on the agenda is Senate Bill 2540. Senate Bill 2540 is an extender on the Healthcare Industry Zone Act, line 27 and line 764. It extends the repealer out to 2029. That is the explanation of the bill. Are there any questions? Senator Blunt for a question.
Do we have any information on the amount of the tax credits that have been awarded under the existing law and where they've gone and the effect on the local areas?
I do not have that. We can get our friends at MDA to get that information to us.
Yeah, I've been communicating with Mr. Cork when I saw this was on the agenda, and I think he's working on getting us that, but I didn't know if you had it. I think it'd be helpful to have before we vote on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator Bryan for a question. You have it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've been trying to work through all the sections and subsections and sub-subsections and little a's and little b's and
Don't forget.
Arabic numerals and Roman numerals, and I'm really confused. Is there anybody that can answer questions about how you qualify as a healthcare industry zone?
I believe I see Ms. Watson here from MDA. If you could, please. Yeah, sure.
Mr. Chairman, the question I have deals with trying to work through the various requirements of 57-117-5, which is the definition of what a healthcare industry zone is. And
Section 4.
So just in layman's terms, it's confusing to me. Do you have to do all of these things or some of these things, or how does that work?
And I apologize, I'm not looking at the statute right this minute, but the company would have to create a minimum number of 25 jobs or invest $10 million to qualify for the incentive and be located within a 7-mile radius of a qualifying hospital.
Well, I'm trying to work through this, and it's got subparagraph 1, MDA may certify a zone if the following requirements are met. And then it's got little a, little b ends with an and followed by little c. So it looks to me like you'd have to have one from subparagraph A, one from subparagraph B, and one from subparagraph C. Now,
Yes, sir. The first step is that the county must be qualified, and that's where that zone, part of that zone definition comes from. And there's a calculation of 3 contiguous counties have to have at least 375 acute care beds. There's only, we have a map, but there's only 4 or 5 counties at the most in the state that don't qualify. So that is the
I'm sorry,
first
there are
step,
only 4 or 5 counties in the state that
that don't satisfy the
that-
3 contiguous
that
counties.
do
with the
not
minimum.
qualify.
Yes, sir. And so that is the first step. It has to be within a county that meets that requirement. And the second step is the business investment, jobs, and location.
And I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that the second step is some regulation that MDA has.
Some of it is in statute, the qualifying based on the jobs and investment and within the 7-mile radius of, I think it's of a healthcare facility with critical care beds. I'm looking for that spot.
Well, it looks to me like all you have to do in subsection B is be within 5-mile radius of a facility with a CON for hospital beds.
Yes, sir. It is 5 miles, not 7. I apologize.
So if you're within 5 miles of a hospital, basically, you've checked off B. And then C just says it's got to be allowable under local zoning.
Yes, sir.
So since you tell me that 70-something counties qualify, I guess as far as geography is concerned, anywhere within 5 miles of any hospital qualifies. And the facility doesn't have to be related to the hospital. It just has to be a facility that's within 5 miles of a hospital.
Correct.
So if, for example, I'm a doctor and I've been renting and I want to build an office, if I build an office within 5 miles of a hospital in 70-something counties, I qualify just by doing that.
In theory, yes, sir. But by regulation, there are job and investment requirements to be certified.
Well, do y'all certify zones?
Certified.
Zones. I mean, do you, for example, would there be a area, say a square mile or whatever, that you would certify as a zone?
No, sir. We just verify that the county is eligible based on that definition and that the facility is located within the defined area.
But it says MDA may certify an area as a healthcare industry zone within these counties.
Oh,
And maybe you certify the whole county as the zone. I don't know that you would have to do that, but.
I apologize. This is not a program I
Well,
manage day to day, and so I do
I
apologize.
apologize for trying to be nitpicky about all this, but this is my point, Mr. Chairman, and if I'm saying something that's wrong, speak up and tell me I'm wrong. Over in the following section, if you are located in one of these zones and you have anything to do with healthcare, you qualify for an accelerated income tax depreciation, the sales tax exemption, the fee of lieu and taxes exemption, and an ad valorem tax exemption. All of that just by being located in the zone. And I think it's the case, and I don't think this is theory, that if I'm a doctor and I go open an office up, I qualify for all that. And at least initially, the idea of this bill was to have a healthcare zone a couple of miles away from here in and around the University of Mississippi Medical Center and other hospitals located there, including the Jackson Medical Mall. I think that's what we were talking about when this bill first came up. And before it's over, you've got practically the whole state in this zone. And if you're in a zone, I think you get all of these benefits just for doing what you would do anyway. It's not serving the purpose of trying to create concentration of healthcare stuff. I guess my question is, don't you agree with me? That's what Hayne and
Agree
Miller
with
would
you that,
always
yeah.
say.
Based on those requirements, that is true. By regulation, we do require at least 25 jobs or a $10 million investment to be created. Senator Blunt did request a list, and I think that's on its way to you right now. I think in the last year, we've only approved one project under this incentive.
I think I have an amendment.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the repealer? All right, Senator Bryan, state.
The bill has a 2029 repealer.
Yes.
I was going to offer an amendment to change that to 2026. I think this is something that may be broader than we realize. And I think it may be the case that we could have some statutory restrictions which might focus the exemptions more where they ought to be. But I don't think I can figure them out. I don't think we can figure them all out during this session. And what happens with the repealer is it keeps coming up, just like the repealers in public health do. They come up because in the matter of course we do it and we don't really drill down. I think we have this conversation. I'm just wondering if we had a one-year repealer, if that would at least give us an opportunity to get answers to these questions so that assuming we come back next year to consider the repealer, we might have time to work through some of this stuff, which is hyper technical, and B, have an opportunity to think about what changes, if any, we might want to include. So that if the chair would entertain that amendment, that's the amendment I would offer, and I think I've cleverly managed to debate the amendment before I offered it.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We're moving. For a motion? Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next bill on the agenda is Senate Bill 2546. This is a repealer for the Mississippi Business Finance Corporation, extending it out to 2029. Are there any questions? Seeing none, for a motion. Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Fillingham. Senator Polk, did you have a announcement you wanted to make?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This morning on the floor, I announced Business and Finance Committee would meet 10 minutes after this meeting because so many of the members interchange and also some of the presenters. So I wanted to reassure everyone we are still planning that meeting 10 minutes after this meeting, whenever that happens.
Nudge is noted. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is Senate Bill 2555. Senator McMahon, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Senators, this is a simple bill, and it's the exact same bill we passed last year that died in the House of Representatives. It allows in the state of Mississippi for our wineries to have an off-site facility. For the vast majority of them, it will be for finished goods products is what it's for. The demand for some of the products has become so large that they don't have the facilities on site to store them, so they're going to store them off-site. I yield for any questions.
Are there any questions? Senator England for a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I just have a motion at the proper time.
See any other questions? What's your motion?
I'll move title sufficient do pass.
All right, motion title sufficient do pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next bill, Senate Bill 2568. Senator Blackwell, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill seeks to strengthen the enforcement of our existing Mississippi motor vehicle liability insurance requirement by linking proof of insurance to the vehicle's registration process, thereby promoting more road safety and financial responsibility among drivers. Mississippi ranks second in the nation at almost 30% for uninsured motorists. There's 43 other states in the country that require drivers to provide proof of insurance and financial responsibility at the time of registration. So this is just bringing us in line with the rest of the world. I'll yield for questions.
All right. Are there any questions, Senator, on this bill? Senator McMahon for a question?
Yeah, I support this bill fully. I appreciate the bill before us. Most Mississippians want our colleagues and our fellow residents to have insurance. There is a flaw with this bill, but it is a step in the right direction. You can purchase insurance, buy a tag, and then cancel your insurance. And that goes on a good bit, but at least this is a step in the right direction for this body. I have a motion.
Any other questions? Senator England for a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I honestly, I think Senator McMahon hit on one of my questions is how does this prevent an individual from purchasing insurance, obtaining their tag, and then canceling their insurance? Does this have anything, will this prevent that in any way?
No. I mean, somebody can purchase it, show it, and then cancel it at the later time, but they'll get caught back in the next registration time, or if they should be stopped.
Another question I have, Senator Blackwell, is does this bill essentially make our tax collectors become insurance enforcing agents? And while you're thinking, Senator Blackwell, if I may just expound on that, the reason I ask is because proof of insurance is obviously something someone from the insurance department or from the highway patrol may be able to determine. But if I walked in with a piece of paper to my tax collector that said proof of insurance on it and some insurer's name, is that tax collector, are we requiring them to know the difference now and to know what a valid proof of insurance would be?
I don't know. I think you're getting a little deep into the thought process there. Most of these other states do this by digital verification, and I would imagine that's the way our folks would do it as well. You're not going to ever prevent people from being dishonest if they want to be dishonest. So, but requiring it on the front end would certainly help. And again, we're almost 30% of our drivers, and this is a requirement. The law says you have to have insurance. So right now we've got about 30% that do not.
Thank you, Senator Blackwell.
Thank you. Do they currently have to show any proof of insurance when they get a tag?
I'm sorry.
Do they currently have to show proof of insurance?
No, they don't.
So you don't even have to have insurance technically, and you could go get a tag for your
Correct.
car. Okay. All right. Senator Sparks for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as showing proof of insurance, you referenced, I think, other states maybe that have a database or something. Are we going to rely on a database, or are we going to rely on from county to county? Because, you know, I know in my little county, there are 4 people up there that take tax monies. and somebody walks in with cash money to give to Tishomingo County to pay their ad valorem tax, because as much as we like to talk about car tags, and by the way, I apologize, while we're talking about car tags, that's a local tax. Property taxes are local taxes. The state does not set local taxation rates. So this is a local tax placed on property, which in this case is an automobile, that's voted on by the Board of Supervisors, set by the millage rate, and somebody walks in to pay their county taxes. And we're going to say, because you don't have this other thing, I'm not going to take your money. That's a tough spot to put the collector in.
I don't see that in the bill. Where do you see that?
Well, you're not going to issue me, I assure you, I'm not going to pay
I'm not going
you.
to issue a license, a car tag if you don't have proof of insurance.
Yeah, but the car tag is how I'm paying my property taxes. That's my personal property. That's ad valorem. Like the car tag is based on the exact same millage as property taxes. So that's a local county tax other than some minuscule $5 or something that comes to the state. But, and I'm, you know, I'm just concerned the assessor's sitting there and somebody walks in to pay, you know, $500 to DeSoto County for the right to have a car tag, but it's all ad valorem taxes. And we're going to say, no, I'm not going to accept your money because you don't have insurance. I just don't know how that works transactionally.
Well, they wouldn't be issued a tag if they don't have proof of insurance.
But that's the only reason you pay for a car tag is to get the tag.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't follow your line of thought on this.
Well, if I don't pay my property taxes, ultimately I could lose my property through a lien. If I don't pay my car tag taxes, I don't get a new car tag. But I'm walking in trying to pay for my car tag, which is county taxation, school taxation. But if this became law, I think the operation of it would be the collector would say, I cannot take your money unless you have a proof of insurance. So you got to show the insurance before you pay your taxes.
And before you're issued a tag.
Yes, sir. I was just curious in operation how that works. In other words, if I walk in and I don't have insurance, and I appreciate the intent of the bill, 100%. But if I walk in and I owe DeSoto County $500 for my car tag, then if I don't hand someone who collects that money a proof of insurance, they're not going to accept my money.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. I just, it's a novel concept.
Well, I mean, 43 other states have somehow managed to do this. So,
well, that's why I was curious. Is it database driven or do you?
I would imagine, I don't know that personally, that I haven't got that deep into it, how it operates, but I would imagine it'd be at the county level, but, and there'd be some form of digital verification of proof.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Seeing none for, go ahead, Senator Johnson.
I'm not an expert on this and I've just heard about this, but someone was telling me that in Mississippi, there are cameras set up in some municipalities that will capture a person's tag, and it doesn't give them a traffic violation, but it cross-references it with an insurance database to see if that vehicle has insurance on it. So if that is already out there, a digital database that's linked to a car tag, why can't we use that instead of putting a burden on the local taxes?
Well, one, I don't know if that technology is being used around the state, and it may be in the more populous areas. I know up in DeSoto County, we have there allegedly car tag readers so that we can identify. We sometimes have a little bit of a bad element coming down from Shelby, but that way it allows law enforcement officers to kind of track who's coming in, and it will also read through those the screens that a lot of people put over their car tag as well.
Okay.
But I believe those systems are probably limited and mostly in the more populous counties.
Maybe the camera capturing part, but the database would exist statewide.
That I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Seeing no other questions for a motion? Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Next bill, Senate Bill 2821. Senator England, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that we've passed several times before, but I actually added what the purpose is in the title this year because I think it'll make it a little clearer for our colleagues in the House when they get this bill. This is the Law Enforcement Anti-Doxing Act of 2025. Doxing, of course, is when you have someone that obtains your personal address information, other personal information, and in a way to cause you harm, publishes that information. It happens a lot in officer-involved shootings. It happens sometimes with judges. And what this bill simply does, it allows for law enforcement officers, whether they be state or federal, judges, and prosecutors to fill out a form with their tax office to have their personal information removed from online records. The records are still there. They're still available through a proper search. They're just not able for bad actors. This prevents bad actors from getting the information, publishing it through whatever means, whether it was some social media or whatever, and with the intent to harass our law enforcement officers. That's simply what the bill does. We passed it out of this chamber, out of our chamber, I believe 3 times now. I hope with adding the purpose in the title of the bill that we can maybe see it move to the governor's desk this year. And I would ask for everyone's support. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Senator McMahon, for a question?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't see a penalty in here. Is there any type of penalty?
No, Senator McMahon. So all this bill does, and I think that we could look at that in the future, but what I wanted to do in the first step of this is just to say that these offices that put records like this for these individuals online, that they create a form either online or in person that allows these individuals to fill out that form and request the redaction of their personal information from online in such ease of access.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, for a motion?
I move title sufficient do pass.
Motion is title sufficient do pass on Senate Bill 2821. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2829. Senator Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is the new market tax credits bill. We passed this last year, but it did not survive the end of session on the House side. And as a reminder, the new market tax credits are mirroring a federal program that is usually a $5 billion program. Now they've upped that to $10 billion for this year. So there's a lot of money in that pipeline. And what it does is allows for tax credits to be issued and effectively sold to raise capital on the front end of investments in low-income census tracts. The tax credits are for both income and for insurance premiums. And generally, it's a great way to put money on the front end of investments that bring jobs into low-income census districts. This will be renewing the same levels, percentages, and amounts as we have had most recently, and that's an explanation of the bill.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none, for a motion?
Motion is title sufficient, do pass.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2845. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In an effort to try to ensure the safety of anyone who goes out for an entertainment at a restaurant or bar, I introduced this bill. And if you'll turn to line 54 is the language that does change the bill. And what this does is if there have been 2 murders in a location in the last 365 days, you will lose your liquor license. That will help control safety. It'll put on the owners of the establishment that they must have control of the establishment for the safety of their customers. Also, it says that the premise itself, the location, would not be able to get a liquor license from DOR if indeed there were 2 murders within 365 days. To determine if it was a murder is determined by the police report. And so what we're trying to do is to make sure that patrons are safe when they go out into different venues and that the ownership is responsible. So many people will ask, well, why are you doing the premise? But you can make so many different corporations, sub-S's, LLCs, that it would be hard to qualify all those. So we just say the premise itself, and the owner, of course, of the premise should have in their lease what is expected of the leasee. Also, if you are a director or officer or owner of an establishment that's had 2 murders in 365 days, you will not be able to get a liquor license anywhere else. Mr. Chairman, that's basically what the bill does.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess as a very basic question, what did where did the idea of this proposal come from? Are we having a problem with establishments, murders occurring throughout the state, and at least 2 at an establishment, in various establishments throughout the state?
Well, I know that I read in Tupelo, there was a place up there that did have 1 murder. And of course, 1 murder is too many. But if that establishment had the second one, then of course it would be closed under, or they'd lose their license. They wouldn't close the business. They'd lose their license under this bill.
Is there a nexus between the actual license and the criminal conduct that we are trying to govern or regulate?
I think what I'm trying to do here is to ensure that the ownership of the venue is doing everything it can to prohibit murders in their facilities.
I guess a comment, then a question, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. Years ago, I forget what year, but we had a Landowner Protection Act bill that went through this deliberate body, and it actually passed and became law. And I know some of the opponents of that bill at the time not only talked about how important it was that premises around the state of Mississippi were in fact secured, but what it really did was it made people in the state safe when they went to these establishments, whether they were the establishments we are trying to, that we are speaking about in this bill or not. We certainly wanted people in the state of Mississippi to be safe when they go to establishments. And so I guess now, when I see a bill like this, I'm concerned about what would be next. Now we're taking the liquor license from businesses that experience some kind of crime and they have no control over it. But it's just a concern. But thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Senator Simmons. And I think that Landlord Protection Act had a lot more to do with liability, but I'm not a jurist. Senator Barrett for a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, the suspension that runs with the property itself, that is for 1 year, correct? That's not perpetual. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Senator McMahon for question.
So I appreciate what Senator Polk has said, and he referenced an incident that happened in one of the areas that I represent. It was a tragic death, but it really didn't have anything to do with the owner of the property because it happened after hours of operation. So I want to support this bill, but I'd like to offer an amendment on line 57. I'm going to start reading on line 56. Permitted to lawns, parking lots having been the site of 2 deaths of violent causes within, and then insert hours of operation within 365 days. Because it's difficult to hold the landowner responsible for something that happens when it's not the hours of operation. There's no one there. That's the amendment. My amendment is insert on line 57, within hours of operation, comma, within 365 days.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Hold on one second, Mr. Polk. And you also wanted on 179. There's
Anywhere
multiple places. Okay. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
I understand what the senator's saying. I wouldn't have any problem with that. But if we could amend his amendment to say 1 hour after closing, add that to it to give the time to get the place cleaned out and everybody gone.
Okay. Senator Bryan for a question.
No, for a comment.
Okay, hang on one second. Are there any other questions on the amendment? All right, Senator Bryan, you're recognized to speak on the amendment.
Well, listening to both the amendment and the proposed amendment to the amendment, it strikes me that what we're trying to do is deal with specific fact situations, and we're not going to be able to think of all of them. I think that there's always been the procedure in Chancery Court to abate a nuisance. And in a sense, this is what we've been trying to do since we first started having joints or bars or whatever the term is that over the years, some of them have got out of hand and got to be a nuisance. And the remedy for that would be traditionally, eventually, that the DA would go to Chancery Court, I think, and get someplace declared a public nuisance and shut it down. It seems to me this is a variation on that theme. And the idea is to deal with the liquor license and to have perhaps a quicker procedure. But the dilemma is the same, and that is to say, if what you're talking about is violent death on premises, there could be a domestic dispute involving some family issue, which could result in deaths on the premises that have nothing to do with the premises. I mean, that could have happened at a dry goods store or Walmart or anywhere else. And I think that the thrust of what the bill is trying to do is to deal with the places that seem to be generating a lot of dangerous activity. And so, having said all of that, I wonder if the better course of action would be to authorize the ABC to revoke the license with the penalties that the bill provides, under the theory that as the various fact situations come up over the years, the ABC, which has discretion to issue these licenses and not makes those decisions to some extent anyway, might be able to deal with the specific fact situations better than we're going to be able to sitting around here.
Senator, I understand what you're saying, but this gives the DOR clear authority to do what you just said.
But I think it requires them to.
Pardon?
I think it requires them to.
Yes, it does.
And I'm suggesting that giving them the discretion to do so might improve the bill, but that was just a thought.
Is this on the amendment? We got an amendment on the amendment to do.
It is, it's an amendment to the amendment of the amendment.
We got to vote on the amendment first.
Okay, well, I guess then it's a question. Would,
Question on the amendment. Go
I
ahead.
apologize, Mr. Chairman.
That's
Would the word may take the license, accomplish maybe what everybody's trying to do? That way it's fact specific, because for instance, if I have a booming nightclub and we take a lot of cash at that nightclub and two masked marauders come in and my security guard shoots them both dead, protecting money and life, now my license is taken. I would just like to say ABC could make the determination of when it's a nuisance. And I don't disagree with the premise. I just think we'd give ABC the discretion to say may instead of shall.
Senator, in your example, that would not be taken at that point. It would take the second murder within 365 days to activate the
So a multi-fatality, if 6 people got murdered in the parking lot because we had a gang fight, I don't get my license taken. I have to have the 7th person. I have to have a second death, second event.
No, not the event, the death. So in the second instance you just mentioned, you would lose your license.
Yeah, but the 2 people trying to rob me killed by my security guard would be 2 deaths.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
I misread it. I thought we were saying there was one person.
no, just, but that's the only thing I would say is may. That would be my question, is may amenable to the amendment?
Wouldn't that be a better solution than the amendment?
But, and that might solve the 1 hour window, because if we do 1 hour after, I need to do 1 hour before when they're lining up for the show and Taylor Swift's playing and these Swifties get out of control.
Anybody that knows me knows I'm not a big fan of may, because most times with a may, nothing happens. So I'd like to say shall.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the question occurs on Senator Polk's amendment. If you're in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote no. All right, amendment passes. Now we're on Senator McMahon's amendment. Can you restate your amendment for council?
My original amendment was on line 57 to add, after death of violent causes within hours of operation, comma, within 365 days.
Okay, and then we added the within an hour after closing, Senator Polk's amendment that passed.
So
is it opening or closing?
I didn't make my amendment.
Just hours of operation.
Hours of operations.
Plus an hour. All right. So that's the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Back on the original bill. Senator McMahon for a question.
Just a quick inquiry. So I want to be clear. On line 58, did we change shall to may?
No. Any other questions on the bill? Seeing none for a motion.
Sufficient to pass.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. Committee sub, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Next bill is Senate Bill 2851. This bill is kind of amending a section of resort status that we passed for institutions of higher learning. Right now, you're not allowed to have a permit to sell beverages in a place that you offer self-service, meaning lockers or storage units you could store liquor in. So this will allow for the sale of liquor in areas where they also store in lockers, on specifically for the section for IHL for those resort areas. Are there any questions? Motion? Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Last bill, Senator Suber's bill, Senate Bill 2303. Senator Suber, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be short and sweet. This gives the Department of Public Safety the authority to purchase property that they've been leasing in Madison County for the past 4 years. That's pretty much the extent of the bill. They're just asking for authority.
Okay, are there any questions? Senator Braun, by the look on your face, I can tell you have a question.
I'm sorry, I just don't know what property we're buying and why.
It's in the Madison County Economic Development Authority. It's a building they're currently using, and I will tell you exactly. It's where they keep their driver service records, and their public safety planning is housed there. And they're also opening an office to hand out to the public with driver's license in Madison County. And it's behind the Walmart in Canton. Like I said, they've been leasing it for the past 4 years, and their lease is up, and they want to purchase the property.
Let me talk to you.
Any more questions on the bill? Seeing none?
All right, title,
Motion?
title sufficient to pass committee sub.
Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. For motion to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.